So, well, AI for ESG CSRD. As you all know, we just talked about it. Right now, ESG and CSRD are like at a turning point. On the one hand, reporting requirements are evolving and in some cases even being simplified. On the other hand, expectations around real impact are only getting higher, and in all that, some kind of confusion is lingering all around this topic. Many companies are collecting more and more data ever, but the key question remains how much of that actually translates into action, and that's exactly where our first session speaker comes in. Sustainability is often discussed in terms of reporting, but what happens when it actually becomes part of how businesses perform? Our next speaker works exactly on that shift, looking at how carbon, energy, and data can be turned into measurable value for companies. Sébastien Leempoel, I don't know if I say it right, CEO of D-carbonize, welcome on stage, and thank you for being here. Big applause, please. Hi, nice to meet you. So let me just, you can use this one, you can use a microphone from here, and this is your pointer, and your presentation is up. Stage is yours.
Good, thank you for the introduction, and thanks a lot, Dr. Fischer, for the perfect transition, because indeed I'm going to talk about my thesis on how I believe AI can actually be an enabler so that we can move from reporting to actual action. So my name is Sébastien Leempoel. I'm the CEO of a company called D-carbonize, and at D-carbonize, so what we do is that we transform energy and carbon data into financial profitability, but also robustness for our customers. We have developed an end-to-end trajectory to help them report on their CO2 emissions and ESG performance, but then most importantly to develop a transition plan to decarbonize, to improve their financial profitability and their robustness. We have our own proprietary software, but we also have a team of expert consultants, carbon experts, data engineers, the whole mix to be able to deliver the full solution. So indeed, I mean, the context that we observe is that companies are facing increasing fluctuations today. And it's not only about climate, by the way, it's more and more from geopolitical moves, from economic environments. Typically, energy prices are changing a lot lately, and it's not necessarily because of climate. Boats get stuck in canals, and they are disrupting supply chains. So that is also a big fluctuation that company needs to face. Today, low carbon product is becoming a key differentiating factor. So how you can adapt to that transformation. And finally, to attract the best talent, you also need to demonstrate that you are a really sustainable company. So in that context, we see ESG managers as robustness managers somehow. They need to deliver sustainability, not anymore to protect the sustainability of the world. That's naturally the end goal. But their priority today, if you talk to them, is to deliver sustainability for their own company, make sure that their own company is still relevant today and tomorrow and can be financially competitive. So they have a big task to make their company more robust, but most of their time is eaten up by reporting, by collecting data, by producing reports. And that's, of course, the big issue. Like Dr. Fischer was pointing at, we're spending most of our time on collecting data and working that data and not on acting. And that's a big issue. And of course, there's regulatory reasons behind that as well. But if we look at the problem pragmatically, how can we solve it without changing the whole governance? That's what we believe. Let me first do a parenthesis on why I believe that and how I believe that ESG managers can become robustness managers. Because actually carbon energy today, they are perceived as reporting burdens. Definitely, that's because it's eating all our time and energy at the moment. But it actually real transformation opportunities to become more resilient as companies and more performing. First, the energy lever, that's the obvious one for the short term. You can make your company more profitable in the short term if you work on energy efficiency, make sure you use as the least amount of energy possible. If you work on your long-term contracts, purchasing contracts, so you don't have to be sensitive to volatility in the future. If you're able to produce your own energy yourself, that is also making you much more resilient and protected from risk and cost changes. And finally, if you can make yourself less dependent on fossil fuels, you're going to be in a much safer situation. So that if you act on those three levers, immediately from day one, you can generate profitability for your company, and you're going to reduce significantly your risk exposure. Now, decarbonization, this is more a long-term lever. If you work on your supply chains, if you make sure that they are sustainable in the sense that they're going to be stable in the future, you're not exposed to climate shocks, to tariffs that could appear, or wars or whatever. If you work on your product life cycle, so you make sure that you use the entire life cycle of your product, you find value-added cases for your waste, you reuse end-of-life products, you decarbonize your raw materials. Everything you can do to optimize your product life cycle will also make you more autonomous and hence more resilient. And finally, you can leverage decarbonization also because if you become low carbon, if you're able to offer low carbon product or low carbon services, you're going to be more competitive than your competitors, because this is what large B2B buyers, public buyers are asking more and more. Now, the problem is that all this is possible only if you are able to get rid of the reporting burden. So where can AI play a role in that environment? This is where we believe, and we see, and we do already in practice, see significant progresses on the field. Now, the first step, and the obvious step that pretty much everyone is doing today, is to start automating part of the workflow. So, for instance, for Scope 3 data collection, you can automate the outreach, you can do data quality checks automatically, you can standardize all the data and so on. So here already you can save a lot of time and a lot of human energy by leveraging AI. Then the reports production can also be automated largely. If you leverage structured data, you can produce CO2 or CSRD compliant report pretty much automatically. And finally, across the whole value chain, you can do your data quality checks, make sure that you don't have errors, or identify them early on, do predictive maintenance and so on. That's the basic, that's what most companies are already doing or starting to do. Now, where it gets more interesting and where you can go one step further to really free up more time for strategic matters, but also to enable many more new use cases with that ESG data or carbon data, is when you start using agents that talk to agents. And you don't work anymore on trying to add more AI into an ESG software. You really embed agents into your workflow, and they talk to each other. So they need to be optimized not to facilitate the work of a human, they need to be optimized to facilitate the work of the next agent they're going to talk to and they're going to interact with. So at the end of the day, the goal is that agents run the workflow end-to-end so that the reports are automatically produced. Naturally, few companies are there. It's only the beginning, but this is where we are going to. And so as an ESG manager or as an IT specialist, you focus only on supervising the system, and you don't need to operate it yourself manually. So actually today, the most advanced companies, they no longer want to open an ESG software to start logging data or working on the report. They want to really embed the ESG, carbon, energy data into the operations of their company. If you look at how decisions are made in companies, pretty much all departments have access to financial data. Now they can have access to ESG data as well. So basically what we do is that we embed the agent directly into the LLM of the companies, so that they have naturally they always implement their own LLM environments that they control and that already have access to their financial data, CRM data, and so on. And we plug the ESG data, the carbon data, the energy data. That makes this data available for the entire company, and it's really embedded into the entire operation. So whether you're in procurement, any procurement decision should not be taken without considering the CO2 impact or the energy impact. Same for CapEx decision, for logistics. Any department in the company will now have access to that data, and they will treat it as the same level of importance as financial data. So this is how you can make a company more sustainable for itself, but also as a result, as a byproduct, you will make the company more sustainable for the environment because you're going to use less energy and you're going to be decarbonized. So how do you make your company actually more profitable, and what tangible value does that translate to in the sense of the ESG manager that we see today? It completely changes their role. It revolutionizes the way their profile, what they have to do, how they talk to CFOs. Basically, they become the CFO best friend. And today, what we observe is that a few years ago, ESG managers were like more on the marketing side. Now with CSRD, they've all moved to a CFO team. But since the omnibus, they're struggling to get the attention of their own manager because they're no longer a priority. If you're able to focus on the strategic aspects, and if you're able to put the ESG and carbon data, energy data at the service of finance profitability, then it changes the game. So the ESG managers, they become strategists more than data collection agents, and they can really work on supervising outcomes rather than operating the system themselves, which can now be automated. So sometimes ESG managers perceive AI as a threat, like it will replace them because today reporting is what they do, is most of their job, but they really should see it as an opportunity. And that actually, I believe that AI will make them really indispensable in their own company because they're going to be much more strategic in the information they can bring to the entire organization. So as a result for the companies, what it brings is energy cost reduction because you can work with more granular data and everything I explained. You can work on your supply chain resilience, so you're much less dependent on shocks. And finally, you're going to be much more competitive, so you can win against your competitor because you have finally been able to roll out the entire decarbonization trajectory, and you're not stuck in the reporting layer. So, in a nutshell, forget the regulations because we don't. It's difficult to influence them, and we don't know in the future if they're going to be reinforced, relieved, and that should not be the driver for starting to a decarbonization strategy. It should be because it's actually strategic for your company, because you can make your company more robust financially and also more resilient in the future. So happy to help and discuss this further if you have needs. Thank you.